So we are here with Bob Campana, who is a successful business owner here in California with Redwood Cafe. And he's going to tell us about how he got into the restaurant industry, why he started a restaurant, why he decided to go in, and some tips for you if you're in the restaurant industry or if you're not sure whether you want to go in yet. He's got some great knowledge, some great tips for you, so let's get into it.
You know, you see a lot of these videos of people saying, restaurant's the worst business to get into, don't do it. And you know what? That advice is probably accurate in a lot of respects because the restaurant business is an extremely intricate business to be successful in. It's not one of those things like, don't try this at home kind of thing, you know? A lot of moving parts in it and so forth, what have you, but I don't know if another business is as rewarding as a restaurant business because you get two kinds of income in the restaurant business. One, if you're successful financially, you make money doing it. But the other one is psychic income. You get the income of interaction with people on a way that almost no other business can approach people and actually discuss with them and talk with them. And I love people, and the restaurant business has been absolutely fantastic for me in both departments.
Start by asking you about your story behind why you decided to start a restaurant, why you decided to go into the restaurant industry, knowing that it's a very difficult industry.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and primarily I was in construction. I built swimming pools and then custom homes and things of different kinds of projects, and I sold my swimming pool construction business, and my daughters basically told me I own this building and this building and this property. We did banquets and weddings, and those are a lot of times restaurants start the restaurant, then they want to go into banquets and weddings because it's a more profitable aspect of it. We went the opposite way. We had the banquets and the weddings. We're doing around 80, 90 weddings a year. Weddings are their own animal to themselves, but the food is relatively simple in relationship to running a restaurant because, you know, everybody's going to eat chicken. They're all going to have the same dish, and they're going to all eat at 5 o'clock. That's pretty straightforward. When you turn around and start having individual orders, 4 different orders on a table, you complex that by 150 different seats in the restaurant. It's a completely different business to get into. So it's very intimidating. I mean, anybody that's in business at all knows the failure rate of restaurants. Well, in general, small businesses fail because people only know what they know. And when you go into something and you don't know what you're doing, well, you're going to do the best you can do. But if you don't learn it, you don't grasp, and you don't get ahead, it can just chew you up and spit you out in a quick way. And everybody thinks they can run a restaurant because they're a good cook. And that's probably the least component of running a restaurant business is being a good cook, even though you have to have good food. But
what were the biggest challenges that you started running into after you started? What were those things, and how did you overcome them to have the restaurant that you do now?
All small business, or all business in general, is about your product, but it's mostly about your team. And it's the people that you put together. And selectively finding the right people to operate and run the different slots inside the restaurant is the biggest challenge. When you very first start out, your experienced people are not really interested in coming to work for a new restaurant because it doesn't have a track record and the failure rate is kind of risky. So you've got this edge that you're working with. On the other side, once you start becoming successful, you discover that the good people come to you because they want to hitch their wagon to a successful business. That comes from the servers, they get better tips. That comes from the kitchen staff, they know what you're doing, it's not as chaotic. In the restaurant business, I heard a guy in Berlin, which I was talking to a guy that owns a pub there, and he says, there's a part of the business that people don't understand, the restaurant business. Restaurant starts at around 8, 9 in the morning, even though we're a dinner house, we don't actually open until 5 at night. You have the prep, you have all of that going on. So in the beginning of the restaurant day, it's a circus. But when we open in dinner service, it's theater. And you have to create those two different amalgamations. So prepping for the evening, you're all running around, you get your head cut off, the back of the scenes kind of thing. And that's different because the chef may say, I want to do a special. So he's got to be sure that the line cooks understand what the special presentation is. There's just a lot of moving parts.
What are the most rewarding parts of being in the restaurant industry for you over the past 10 years?
Obviously the people, and then the challenge as an entrepreneur is succeeding in the restaurant business.
Right.
All entrepreneurs of any stripe know that this is probably the one of the most difficult businesses to come into. Probably hands down. You have so many moving parts. You have food that can spoil. You have prime cost, which is your labor and your food. Those can't exceed a certain percentage point. We can talk about those things in a future video about the accounting of a restaurant business, how you can basically monitor that going on and so forth and what have you in that regard. The psychic income that comes, we all love going into a busy restaurant. All the voices going, the chatter going, the service, the food moving around. If we got a bar, the bar's going on. There's just a great energy in it. And that energy is transferable. And me being like king of the hill, so to speak, the owner of the restaurant, and I walk around and I greet people and I thank them for coming into the restaurant. And they're grateful that we've created such a great environment for them to come to. So this like approachability of talking to people. So I would basically say I have two groups of people that I love in the restaurant business. One is my staff. I love the staff and I love the energy that they put into creating that theater at the end of the day. And then the thing is the customer, on the other hand, so many variety of people come into the restaurant. Our restaurant is a special occasion restaurant. We have people celebrating birthdays, celebrating anniversaries. So I'll come to a table and there'll be four or five people sitting at the table and I'll say, well, what brings you to Redwood tonight? Well, we are celebrating so-and-so's life. They love this restaurant. They love coming here. And we come back once a year to basically just celebrate their life. That is so meaningful that I was able to create something that was dear to people in their most common sense. And then at the same time, it carried on after they passed away. People would come there to remember them. That's a pretty cool thing to do.
That's incredible. Those customer interactions that are your loyal people who they're your community.
In my case, I take the pulse of the restaurant by table touching. I can walk around, I can see if they're getting good service, or people will look you in the eye, you can talk to them. So like on the internet, you get comments. In the restaurant, it's live interaction. I know exactly right then, how's it going? And if it's not going great or something's not right, I can take it and flip it into a positive. I can compliment a drink, I can compliment an hors d'oeuvre, I can apologize. We can turn around and make it happen and change it around. And in a lot of cases, you don't get that opportunity, but you can do it if you're out there table touching and walking around. And that's the way I run the restaurant.
Yeah, you're very intimately involved with all of your operations in every little detail and your customer satisfaction.
I think most small businesses, everybody gets 95%. I mean, you get the blocking, tackling 95%. It's that 5%, and sometimes even 2%, whatever it might be, that is the attention to those details, those little things that separate you from others, that create that experience that separates you from other businesses. I did that in the pool business by creating my saying there was dirt to Disneyland. I would basically start with a dirt backyard. I turned it to Disneyland for the people, and what I was doing is basically physically constructing their dreams. In a restaurant, when you come in to eat, it's a reward. You're rewarding yourself, and to have that reward fulfilled in a way, you anticipate having a great meal, you have a great meal, the service is great, all of the ducks lined up in a row, the owner comes by and thanks you for coming into the restaurant. That's just a great developing experience. And unfortunately, it's a rarity. So that, to me, is my income from it. I get the income from, like, for example, this room. I'm always drawing ideas on aesthetics and so forth and what have you. When I watch a movie, I will usually watch the background of the movie because the background of the movie is selected by the set designer. The set designer is visually checking something out. So why is he doing that? So I'm looking at those things. So for example, these cases here, Steve Martin made a movie called Birdie. And he went to this really cool restaurant and they had these kind of things here. I saw that, knocked it off, and recreated it.
So you're paying attention to every detail. You are looking at the world and at other designers' ideas, and you're absorbing those.
Well, other designers' ideas are I'll amalgamate them, I'll turn around and I'll adjust them. A lot of things that a lot of people miss. So for example, when you're in the restaurant, you want to be able to talk to your guests. How many other restaurants do we go into where we can't hear each other? Because it's so busy and noisy. Not here. I created the ambiance, like these little booths that we put together. Those things came about through COVID. I usually didn't have these separators, but I started putting them in through COVID. So we turned around, we kept them because they basically add a degree of intimacy to the experience. And you have your little cocoon where you're turning around and having your dinner. And then like you and I are talking here, the restaurant isn't busy. The ceiling is done to absorb sound, but it's also done for aesthetics. Everything is done for aesthetics. And if I'm sitting in every chair in this restaurant, What am I looking at? What am I seeing? I want to discover things. If I sat at this chair next time, oh, I didn't see that last time.
Yeah.
You know, those are the kind of things that I'm trying to create.
It's those details that take you from great to world class.
No doubt about it.